My name is Peter Goetje. I'm a director of the Nordic Cochrane Center in Copenhagen and professor of research design and analysis at the University of Copenhagen. 2 years ago, I found out that our prescription drugs are the third leading cause of death after heart disease and cancer. Our drugs kill around 200,000 people in America every year, and half of these people die while they do what their doctors told them. So they die because of the side effects. The other half die because of errors. And it's often the doctors that make the errors, because any drug may come with 20, 30 or 40 warnings, contraindications, precautions and so on. No doctor in the world knows about all this. So they give patients drugs that they should not have given them, that interact dangerously with other drugs or food items or so on. And then the patients die. That's the other half. So the other thing I found out 2 years ago was that much of what the drug industry does fulfills the criteria for organized crime in US law. And they behave in many ways like the mafia does. They corrupt everyone they can corrupt. They have bought every type of person, even including ministers of health in some countries. So there is a huge amount of corruption. In my country, for example, Denmark, we are regarded as having very little corruption. But yet we have thousands of doctors on industry payroll, although we are just 20,000 doctors. So this is an effective kind of corruption. The drug industry buys the professors first, then chiefs of department, then other chief physicians and so on. They don't buy junior doctors. So when several thousands are on industry payroll, it's really, really bad. And that's why I wrote my book, Deadly Medicines and Organized Crime, How Big Pharma Has Corrupted Healthcare. I hope to convince patients not to take so many drugs, because so many die from the drugs they take. In my country, people take so many drugs that every single citizen can be in treatment with 1.5 drugs from they are born till they die. This is incredible. And drugs are not that helpful. And they kill very many of us. We know that. That's why drugs are the third major killer after heart disease and cancer. So what we need in the coming years is to take far fewer drugs than what we do currently. If we did that and we were careful, then we could live longer and live better lives. Because drugs have many side effects, and patients often don't realize that when they become worse, that it could be a side effect of the drug, which they continue taking because that's what their doctors tell them. So when I was a specialist in internal medicine, what I very often did was that I stopped a lot of drugs, particularly in elderly people, and it's quite revealing to see a bedridden elderly person come into your ward, and when you stop the drugs, I mean, that person becomes many years younger. And many of these drugs affect the brain, and old people tolerate that very, very badly. They fall, and when they break a hip, 1/4 of them die. And for example, antidepressant drugs are used in more than 10% of our elderly. And they seem to kill 3% of them every year. I mean, if 100 old people take an antidepressant for 1 year, 3% of them will die because they fall and break their hip. This is a huge death rate. So a lot of other drugs than antidepressants also make people fall and kill them. And they may affect your cognition, your memory and all these things. And then they interact in ways that we know almost nothing about. Very many elderly, they take more than 5 drugs a day. And we actually don't know how these drugs interact with each other. What we do know is that all drugs have many effects in the body, and some of them interact also in their metabolism. so that you can get a too high concentration of a drug if you take other drugs simultaneously. So we make a lot of harms that we don't even recognize. I have a pretty colorful collection of things people have called me during all these years. And sometimes journalists have asked me, why do you always look up controversy? And my reply is, I don't. Controversy looks me up. Because it's not popular to tell the truth in healthcare. You will get a lot of enemies, because a lot of people make money on false premises, doctors and industry alike. And our drug regulators and our politicians, they are on board on this wagon. So very few people are independent of money in healthcare. And
infrastructure no. As a regional communication officer, na ebi no wa oya asefim kakra na today I want to wonyim secondary de wonyim SL bridge osai on the 8 years of President Kufuor. You took young papa John Evans Atamus na Bredo no obesha ase that time no na deputy regional minister Betty Bosomtwesam wo ho na regional metro chief executive captain retired Anthony Kujo no washa see woye SL bridge no my papa John Dramani Mahama obey oboso dem wo complete the project was completed before the end of 2014 ibiala wo se ko na takwade nyim SL bridge no odawo na obey one day oba caption the oka project president na Akufo-Addo abaye won onye wan kotin some the P every district bia and some work Western regional oyako isam and most importantly adama bahande oye tume state here midina hade yi today waka there wo si affordable housing wa ha 70 or 75% completed oya asefem ntina hade minyim ha pa mwayankufo water anti mostly wa chala a week me ba bi or twice nti meti da ma asem na oye mwanwa nti ene da me buy bananti wa from the junction to the last point yegine me hu bibia lot dem there will see project bia wa ha menye indigenous what kroma ha dey menye obibia akasa dodo na la akasa mason for wo ye renovation wo bi ni mo fi adadaw na azin na menye wona akasa bibia lot dem nyo even state house in full pay funu po ye nyi bi ni akasa wa ka chen dey project bia lot dem nkodo wa ha. Not for the whole vice president of the republic. Obaba kache Ghana fu ina there we see affordable housing wa hade. Oye no kware dan wo wa hade. Ibi match na more than 20 years. Oye asasa state house in waje on the Rollins time na waje da masasi. They will be sisi na wa atona ma Ghana fu based on your capability. Uko tokumi ya ebutuma atobi. Maranga se meze enyim ma atodan ni bi. Amo nkofu be ye bien. Inti oya mwanwa na dana wo hade no the arrangement in there where we whisker na eco state housing na akwa choose say that 2 bedroom 3 bedroom or 4 bedroom na ato ibi o we say we bi o on construction na ato na we complete amo bi o so you totally completed na etua ka na wa transfer amo na even on anonymous ni yenyin state housing food ni bi ni makasa while the Nezipefe there is no affordable housing unit biala abenili siwo estate ha, and for that matter Sekenita Krade and Western region inti the mayaka in there oya sefim say pede yezi aman yesema yamma nukorizi bimbem aman krofo wonya pe da wo pede wo som woman Ghana na wo so wonya akukuduru na wa aba na wa bosom woman Ghana na da bia nya akwanja na yiza akoyisema onye. Most especially this campaign 2020 no or evidence based 4 years of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama against 4 years of President Nana-Addo. 120 billion public debt against 138 billion of 3.5 years of President Akufo-Addo. 4 years of John Mahama yenyimiska obosoje around 51-52 billion. Na ababaji na Akufo-Addo suwenya 138 billion. Ya de bo compare indwuma aye na yehu no kware wom nti yent na as a Western Radio Communication Bureau no we will go to every district ma challenge me constituency communication officers there they should do the same thing in every district won name any project or sabe wala in this modern 25th century na vice president of the republic or two betina TV do obegina TV no ka toilet as an achievement then we are sick as a nation toilet assemblyman fu no woye all this all over the time ni na assemblyman fu wo lobby and wo am assembly am bibi it is even shameful for assemblymen even to talk about boast about toilet. What's your predecessor boast of Kejecha market airport fishing harbor infrastructure development then you are talking about toilet.
People of Ghana, I have decided as a citizen of Ghana to do a fact check on Dr. Bawumia's presentation on the 120 affordable housing at Pusinamogo, which is supposed to be constructed by the State Housing Construction Company Limited. And I can tell you that I'm currently at the site. And as you can see, this is the signboard. When the president came in November 2019 last year to cut the sod. This is the road, the main Tamale road from Bolga to Tamale. And as you can see, this is the signboard. And as I'm taking my left turn, it's supposed to be the site where the houses are supposed to be constructed. And I can tell you authoritatively that this is still a vast land. In fact, a virgin land, a land that can be used for other agricultural activities like farming. And animals are grazing. As you can see from afar, there are cattle. There is nothing like even a piece of block on the piece of land. There is nothing like a piece of block. There is nothing like building materials, either sand, stones, chipping, cement, or even a construction site office. There's nothing. This is the entire land. There is absolutely nothing. This is where the president cut the sod, as last year, for the construction of the 120 affordable housing in the Upper East region, specifically Pusinamogo, and there is nothing. Dr. Bawumia told us that the project is 20% completed. 20%. 20%. In fact, if there's anything less than 0%, this is supposed to be the right description. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. And I can tell you that there's absolutely nothing on it. This land is still vast.